Welcome to councillors and staff and those joining us online and in the public gallery. We begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people here today. I'll now read the prayer. Almighty God, we humbly beseech your blessing on the council, direct and prosper its deliberations for the welfare of the people of the Moyne Shire. Amen. Amen. Do we have any apologies today? Are there any declarations of interest? If not, I'll call on the confirmation of the minutes. I would like to call for a mover to confirm the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 28th of November 2023. Moved by Councillor Purcell, seconded by Councillor Mead. All those in favour or against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. There are no public participants today. We may have a change to the agenda, so I'll call on Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that we hear items 2.9 and 2.10 earlier in the agenda, as we've got some members in the gallery today who are interested in this particular topic.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Do we have a second to that motion? Councillor Lockett. All those in favour for, against? Carried. Right, thank you. We'll start with item 2.9, please. Right, the livestock underpass and grid policy. I'll call on, Director of Assets and Community, Ms Farrell, please, to introduce item 2.9.
Thank you. So through the Mayor, this policy is presented to you today. It was previously known as the Cattle Underpass policy, and we have had some requests for the installation of the grid. So we've updated the policy as it was due for renewal to include a section on consideration of the installation of grids. Important to note, the purpose of this policy is really around ensuring that we can support agriculture and farmers and get cattle off the roads in terms of crossings, which is a benefit in terms of productivity to farmers, but also road safety and road management and maintenance as well. So the policy still stands in terms of the cattle underpass component, with a grant application scheme that council fund of $10,000 per application. The grid policy, the grid component, it's proposed that there would be no funding attached to that, but more just that we have a considered process around the applications for any grid work. So I'll present the report to you for consideration.
Thank you, Ms Farrell. Before I seek a mover of the officer recommendation, are there any questions or discussion on item 2.9? Yeah, Councillor Mead and Councillor Gleeson. Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Mayor. Ms Farrell, just wanted to clarify item 2, the 2 in the officer recommendation there with regard to the engineer geotechnical. That is an optional request or optional for the applicant?
Through the Mayor, yes, that's right. So this has come up through the process of considering a review of the policy, that there may from time to time be a requirement for consideration of the subsoil and a requirement for geotech. So that would be worked through with our engineering team and would be captured through our working within road reserves permit process if it was required. So as the recommendation says, encouraged but not necessarily required, it would be on a case by case.
Thank you. Councillor Gleeson.
Thank you. So given that generally most of these are on council-owned assets or roads, does the policy, protect us as the road owner?
Yes, so through the Mayor, thank you for the question. Yes, and that was the purpose of that additional component in the policy, where if we felt that there was any added risk that would become a requirement, but we are protected and there is public liability required by the installer of the infrastructure as well.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion before I call for a mover, please? Yeah, councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Mayor. Back to our engineering geotechnical assessment. Ms. Farrell, can the officers demand one be done?
Through the Mayor, I think it's less a demand and more a consideration if it were required. It would be something that would be worked through with the particular applicant. My understanding from the officer who deals with these is that they're normally not a requirement. So it would be in a more rare circumstance where there might be some concern around the, subsoil or a sinkhole or something like that.
Yeah, but if there's a sinkhole, sinkhole would be visible when the excavation starts. But the geotech assessment would be done before any excavation work, which could cost $10,000,
So
maybe more.
through the Mayor, I've had advice from the officer that it would be a cost of under $5,000 for what they would require if it was required. And generally, it is not required.
Yeah, it still doesn't answer the question. If the officers turn around and say you've got to do one, otherwise you get no permit, then what happens?
Through the Mayor, I think in terms of the way that the recommendation is put, it's encouraged, so it's not an absolute requirement. So I think from the applicant's perspective, they would have grounds to say it's not required and therefore they may not do it. It's not an absolute.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just to follow
Councillor
on, so
Gleeson.
just to follow on, so clarification, the ones that are a very costly exercise, there's the third party involved and they say it's going to cost this much. Mr. Davis, you'd expect that they would know what they're dealing with, wouldn't it? If they're going to put in a quote for so and so. So would those reports be basically covered in their quotation, do you think?
Through you, Mayor, most likely, yes, that's right, councillor Place.
Right, thank you. Any further questions or discussion before we seek a mover of the officer recommendation? If not, I'll seek a mover of the officer recommendation before us, item 2.9, livestock underpass and grid policy, please. Seek a mover, councillor Dukas. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Mead. Councillor Dukas as mover.
Thank you. Yes. Well, generally speaking, it's a bit of a tidy up and we've included a grid policy. I do have some reservations about the geotechnical assessment, but from what Ms. Farrell says, I'm confident that nothing silly would be required by the officers. And if so, it could always come back to council for, I suppose, not only deliberation, but for investigation. So that being the case, let's go forward with this policy and hopefully those that need an underpass can go forward and get one without much drama.
Thank you, councillor Dukas. Councillor Mead, the seconder of the motion, officer recommendation, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, look, I'm happy to support it on the premise that it's a compulsory requirement to get an engineer's geotechnical assessment done, because obviously that would add even greater cost to a heavy cost already and time and etc. So, and I also think it's a good idea to add the cattle grids, because there's definitely potential for them on some of our lesser used roads to create a bit of ease of crossing of the road, where a underpass might be overkill, but cattle grid might suit well. So definitely potential for that too, so happy to second, thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, councillor Mead. Does any councillor wish to speak for the motion? Does any councillor wish to speak against the motion? If not, I'll refer to councillor Dukas to sum up item 2.9, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A straightforward policy upgrade with the inclusion of the grid policy, and it's a pity the state government couldn't go back to funding some of these underpasses as they should. They can fund tunnels everywhere else except where they're needed. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Dukas. I'll put item 2.9 to the vote. Those in favour, 4. Against, carried 7-0. Thank you. Right, we'll move now on to item 2.10, Age and Disability Services Review. I'll call on, again, Ms Farrell, Director of Assets and Community. Thank you, Ms Farrell.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, so this report before you is in response to Age and Disability Services Review that was undertaken on the request of Council, which is essentially in response to the federal government reforms in this sector that have been going on for some years and are carrying through to 2027. The review was required to ensure that Council can be in a position to conduct services ongoing in terms of both consideration of the program funding models, the cost of service delivery, taking account of workforce issues, compliance and continuity of care considerations. So the review has resulted essentially in 3 options that have been brought to Council for consideration. And the recommendation before you today is that you undertake to continue to provide home and community care services, and that we are directed to continue to look at ways to improve the service ready for the transition to the 2020 Support at Home program, as well as further reporting to Council. There has been, through the process, as the report details, extensive consultation both across the community in terms of client and carers of clients, as well as our community care workers, some of which are here today, and extensive consultation processes in terms of face-to-face surveys, online opportunities for comment. So I think it's been a very extensive process, both in terms of the quantitative kind of data that's come out of it, but also the financial analysis of how the service is tracking, and hence the recommendation to continue service. So I'll provide that for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms Farrell. Before I seek a mover of the officer recommendation, are there any questions or discussion, please? Yeah, councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, my question is, if in the recommendation there is to be a yearly kind of report, what would that entail and mean for, staff or users of the service and stuff? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, through the Mayor. So the intent around bringing a report to you in 12 months' time is to ensure that we can pick up on some of the issues that were both known prior to the review, but also that came out as part of the review process. So we know that we need to look at the staff resourcing issue is key. So how we, our kind of workforce attraction and retention of staff ongoing, improved communication processes, some of our systems and tech. So we need to implement better methodology in terms of how we roster and manage the service, and 2 of the big ones being our financial processes and governance. So meeting the compliance standards and looking for efficiencies in the way we operate. So that's what we intend to bring back as part of the review process.
Thank you. Any further questions? Yes, councillor Gleeson.
Thank you. Given that council run businesses and there's a lot of councils being out of services, I'd just like to focus on, opportunities to grow. So when we were challenged about this, I just want to congratulate you firstly and your consultancy team that came in and just did a marvellous job within a week to provide us with information, because that was really essential. And further to that, to your team, who said, okay, we've got to prove ourselves, justify ourselves, etc. So what you've done in the last 3 months for us has been outstanding, because, there was dubious as possibly the word as to our future within this program or in this area. But there's been a real enlightenment for me over the last 3 months. So I guess then the challenge is, how can we grow the service and make it sustainable?
Thank you. So thanks for the question through the Mayor. The key point of difference for Moyne, and we see that there are a range of neighbouring councils and more broadly across the state exiting the service. The unique difference for Moyne is that we are in the home care package space, and that is definitely supporting and offsetting the cost of the provision of the Commonwealth Home Care Support Program. And so for us, that is absolutely the opportunity here, is to grow that service as well as conduct all those other efficiencies that I've made reference to. So that would be very much the focus.
So this is a sustainable program.
Yes, so through the Mayor, the financial analysis of the program, which is detailed in the attached report, shows that we are break even to profitable in this year, and that is in a period where we haven't actually had a focus on growing that service. So that is opportunistic in terms of clients that are using our Commonwealth Home Care Support Program actually just coming to us organically for the provision of home care packages. So that is an area that we could actually more consciously target and grow.
Thank you.
Just this one further.
Yes.
So in the report that mentions a transition to 2027 support at home. So does that suggest there'll be changes to operation, or, and if that's the case, are you asking us now for a 3-year commitment?
So it's through the Mayor. So the intent in line with the recommendation is that we'll continue in the service and we'll work towards that 2027 transition, albeit bringing a review report to you at the 12-month mark. So from an office perspective, yes, the intent is that it is ongoing, subject to that, that we're tracking along well over the next couple of years. The reference to the in-home, it's the support at home program is the new name basically of aged care moving forward once we get to that transition point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion, please? If not, I'll seek a mover for the officer recommendation, the Aged and Disability Service Review, please. I seek a mover. Councillor Foster.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to move the recommendation with a small amendment, if I may. So as it reads with the 3 dot points, but with the third one being to provide a 12-month report. I believe in its current form, it suggests that we'll undergo a full evaluation for 12 months. I think the intent is to, as Ms Farrell has said, to provide an updated report.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillors, you've heard Councillor Foster's request that we, in item recommendation number 3, undertaken is replaced with provide a 12-month evaluation is replaced with report. All councillors comfortable with that amendment? Right. If not, I'll seek.
I'm happy to move that revised amendment, revised recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Foster. I seek a seconder for the officer recommendation, please. Councillor Gleeson. Right, I'll call on councillor Foster as mover of the motion, please,
Thank you, Mayor.
recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. It is my pleasure to move this recommendation. I think there is an expectation in our communities that we'll do what we can as a council to take care of our most vulnerable people. And the question here for me is, if not us, then who? And I know we've got other high quality aged care providers who do operate in Moyne Shire, but none of them operate across the full width and breadth of our shire. And my concern there is that if we were to step away from these services, it may result in some very vulnerable people slipping through the gaps. So the review that we've just had and we've heard about, I understand that probably resulted in quite a bit of angst amongst our workforce and certainly with our clients. But in the end, I think it's been a good thing because it has demonstrated to us in black and white that not only are those services highly valued, but that there is a high level of trust in our particular workforce. And that was really important that we could see that. It's a service that's not only important, but it's loved by the clients it serves. And, you just have to look at some of the stats. I think workers travelled last year more than 70,000 kilometres across our shire, providing 422 hours of service and delivering almost 4,000 meals. So they're just some stats. It's a really crucial suite of services that we provide. And we have a unique opportunity here, now that we have done that deep dive into the services and into the costs, to provide some certainty, not only to our clients, but to our community care workers who are working so hard. So I hope they see this as a vote of confidence, not only in this service, but in them personally. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Foster. Councillor Gleeson, the seconder of the officer recommendation.
I probably can't add much more to councillor Foster's comments. We have to look at all aspects of the business, and we do. What's profitable, what's not. This is more than about making money. So the break even is a great result, and to have an opportunity to grow the business is even greater. But more importantly, this is human. This has got 20 staff involved and 400 clients. So as council, we just got to look beyond the dollars in this particular sense and say, we're doing something fantastic here. And so I just want to say thanks to the community care team and to your staff and to what you've done in the last 3 months to probably turn around what was potentially a really challenging decision for us. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, councillor Gleeson. Does any councillor wish to speak for the motion? Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I so wish to speak for the motion and completely agree with councillor Foster and councillor Gleeson's comments. I get frustrated when aged care hospitals, schools often use business models to run them. I understand we don't want to, throw money down the drain, but we're doing the opposite of that. It's such a vital service for a vulnerable population moving into their, elder years of life. And you look at many different societies and how they treat their elders and their aging population. Australia is one of the biggest shifts in our history in terms of that aging population, which is ever growing. So wonderful that we have done this, but it has really highlighted how important it is and how well loved the staff really are and what an amazing job that team's doing. So we've all, we're all aging, we're all being towards death, and it's all, it's a hugely important service. So congratulations to the team, and for us, I think a good job done well, and how important it is and will be going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Lockett. Any other councillor wish to speak for the motion? Does any councillor wish to speak against the officer recommendation? If not, I'll call on councillor Foster as mover of the motion to summarise, please.
Thanks, Mayor. I don't think there's anything more to really say other than let's get to work, see what we can do. And I think it's really exciting that we have for this vote of confidence in the service and the team. Let's build on it and continue the great care that we're providing for our aged and disabled people.
Thank you, councillor Foster. Just before I put it to the vote, I'd just like to especially thank Miriam and Edith and the team for the work that's gone into this report. It's come up in very short time, and here it is at an OCM. So well done and congratulations to everybody involved. So I'd just like to put item 2.10 to the vote. Those in favour, all. Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I'll call on a motion to resume standing orders, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Gleeson. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 2.1, the monthly financial report. I'll call on the Director of Corporate and Governance, Mr. Small. Thank you, Mr. Small.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this is a twofold report. It's covering the regular finance report, and there's also a discussion around the proposal to repay the council borrowings that are currently on hand. Firstly, the finance report we presented to the November council meeting a very in-depth review of the council's finances at that point in time, and projected a forecast result for the end of the financial year, and nothing much has changed in the intervening months. So that part of the report, I think, is reasonably stands alone. Second part of the report was at the previous council meeting, there was a request that the officers explore repaying the small loan we've got of 2.4 million at the beginning of this year. It was whether they wish to repay that early. The officers have done some work on that, and they have put a recommendation in that council, a proposal there, the council could repay the loan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Are there any questions or discussion on item 2.1, please? Yes, Councillor Purcell.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just in page 28, where there's 9.9 million under the forecast operating surplus adjusted for anomalies. Is that the the profit and loss of the, is that where we finish up with a $9.9 million profit for the year? Is that the way I read that?
Through the chair, councillor, basically that would be where we would have ended up on the accounting result, the technical accounting reporting, had we not had to recognise the sale of the transfer of the Gore Kappa land, the land to the Great Ocean Road Coastal and Parks Authority of 2.9 million, and also the fact that the Grants Commission money, which the council receives every year, was for current year's money was received in advance in June last year and needed to be recognised in the last financial year. So the underlying, adjusting for those two items, we would have made a $9.9 million surplus in the current year. That's what we're expecting.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Are there any further questions or discussion on item 2.1, please? Yeah, Councillor Gleeson.
Just in relation to the loan repayment, I think the decision to borrow was on the back of very, very low interest rates. So investment versus borrowing, I think it's all probably the same now. Just an estimate, if we pay the loan out, what would be a savings?
Thank you.
Instead of going to 10-year term, say over 3 or 4 year term.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Through the mayor, basically, we would have, if we paid the loan out early, we'd make a savings of 440,000 over the remaining life of the loan. However, this would need to be offset by the money we would have earned on interest with this, with the money on deposit. So it would be only a small variance from an accounting perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Is there any further questions or discussion before I seek a mover of the office or recommendation? Yeah, Councillor Gleeson.
Just thank you. Just if in a business sense, then if council's borrowed from reserves or whatever to invest in the caravan park, and we're going to pay that off, would we then expect that the caravan park as a business would return that?
Again, through the mayor, basically, we would be expecting to, over the coming remaining life of the notional loan that we repaid, we were putting interest charges against that caravan park expenditure to cover that, as that was the original intention.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. Further on in the capital, do you mind if I ask a question about the capital works monitoring report to Ms Farrell? And sorry, it's without notice, Ms Farrell. It's just in relation to the solar and battery backup that has been installed on our kindergarten, kindergartens, plural. And that sounds like a great project that's come in under budget. Without notice, do we have an estimate of what the long-term savings might result in, what they might be?
Through the Mayor, unfortunately, I don't have that information at hand, but I will take it on notice and come back to you.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any more questions or discussion before I seek a mover, please? Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Mayor. It's a small, currently, as I read it on page 65, it's 3.05 million in cash surplus. Question is, where does that money sit? Does that sit in a interest-bearing account, that cash surplus?
Through the chair, yes, councillor, it does sit in interest-bearing accounts. We have a range of investments. I think we've set those out on page 32 of the report, where the different investments are listed. So
that 3 million is incorporated in that 30 million.
that's correct.
Well, thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Yeah, Councillor Purcell.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a question in regard to the under the loan. It's probably unfair to ask because this loan's only been taken out 2 years ago.
21. Yeah, 2 years.
My question really is why did we take it out if we had the facility to pay it, and why then are we paying it off now, considering that the difference in interest rates is so minimal?
I can respond to that, councillors. My understanding is from the history of this is that they wanted to make quite clear that the caravan park would be funding this loan because there was money to fund the caravan park.
Yeah.
But if it is of interest to the council, we could bring a further report back to the council on this matter.
Thank you. Right, any further questions or discussion, please? I seek a mover of the officer recommendation 2.1, the monthly financial report, November 2023. Do I have a mover of the officer recommendation, please? Councillor Gleeson. Is there a seconder, please? Seeking a seconder, Councillor Purcell. Councillor Gleeson as mover.
So every month, it's just important that we're up to date. Look, the great thing is we're in a great position. Well, we're in a very solid position, and it's good because we do this monthly scrutiny. We get the 6 monthly adjusted budget. So, you know, we have the opportunity to discuss, ask questions. I think we're in a good spot, and it's a really important report. So I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Gleeson. Councillor Purcell.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Echo those comments. The total confidence in the team. I would still like a bit of work done on having a simple figure that says how we're going this year. But I think we'll work through that as time goes on. But more than happy to, because as I said, I know the team are very professional and do a great job. So more than happy to second this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Purcell. Any councillor wish to speak for the motion, please? Any councillor wish to speak against the motion, please? If not, I'll refer to Councillor Gleeson as mover of the motion officer's report.
Thanks. Just one further comment. Within the budget, I see the variance of 20,000, and I'd like to highlight it because it was a contribution we've made to the Hawkesdale pool. And I'd like to thank the committee for continuing to do the great work. And I'm very, very pleased that we were able to support them. So nothing else.
Thank you, Councillor Gleeson. I will put item 2.1, the monthly financial report, to the vote. Those in favour, 4. Against, carried 7-0. Thank you. We will move on to item 2.2, please. The public holiday in lieu of Melbourne Cup Again, Director of Corporate and Governance, Mr. Small.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, each year, the council needs to make a decision on whether it wishes to have another public holiday in lieu of the Melbourne Cup or have that same Cup day. And we have traditionally had the public holiday to align with the Warrnambool Race Day, which is in May, and we are recommending that we do the same in 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Any questions or discussion before I seek a move of the officer report? Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question. Neighbouring Warrnambool City Council have confirmed this public holiday as well. That's the case, isn't it?
Confirmed through the chair. That's correct, Councillor.
Thank you.
Right, any further questions to Mr. Small, please? If not, I'll seek a mover of the motion, item 2.2, public holiday in lieu of Melbourne Cup. Seek a mover, please. Councillor Mead, a seconder, please. Councillor Foster. Councillor Mead as mover, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Happy to move the recommendation there that the Warrnambool May races is public holiday for Moyne Shire. As it is for the Warrnambool City Council, we've had the discussion year in, year out, and it has to be gazetted each year. We do it each year. It could be done for a longer period of time, but I think it's sound to review it each year and makes sense because some of our workforce and school students are based out of Warrnambool, so happy to do that. But also, not to mention that the May races brings a lot of economic drivers and economic activity for Moyne as well as Warrnambool and the region.
Thanks, Councillor Mead. Councillor Foster, a seconder of the motion, please.
Thanks, Mayor. Well, as a mum, I think it would be disastrous to try and coordinate a family if you were going to school and parents working and not working. So I think it makes perfect sense that we align with our neighbours at Warrnambool City Council.
Thanks, Councillor Foster. Any further questions? Would any councillor wish to speak in favour of the motion, please?
Mayor, I'd like a clarification, please. If we didn't agree with the public holiday, it would still be a holiday because no one would be going to work. If I remember correctly, it was only half a day holiday some time ago. So what would happen if we didn't declare it a public holiday?
Mr. Small.
Through you, Mayor.
No.
Through you, Mayor, my understanding would be it would default to the Melbourne Cup as the public, because that's a gazetted public holiday.
Yeah.
Or you could pick another day.
But from a business point of view, if it wasn't declared a public holiday and a worker came to work, you'd have to pay him holiday rate. Or they'd take the day off without getting paid.
Would depend on the circumstance, yes.
I just thought, just for clarification, because not everybody can go to the races on a public holiday. I'm just asking, well, where does it leave some of the businesses that have to still operate? And they would be caught paying holiday rates on that day.
Any further questions or discussion, please? If not, as mover of the motion, Councillor Mead, please.
Yeah, nothing further to add. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put item number 2.2 to the vote. Those in favour, all. Against, carried 7-0. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item number 2.3. Instrument of appointment and authorisation, planning and environmental act. Mr. Small again, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this is a regular report we put up to you. It's because of the wording in the Planning and Environment Act, which doesn't enable the CEO to authorise other officers to undertake specific statutory duties. So it needs to come back to council to make an authorisation. So we bring this report up regularly to reflect officers who we wish to empower under the Planning and Environment Act in the planning and building area, and we list them by name as to who these officers are. And as there's a change of personnel periodically, people drop off and new people are appointed. So that's the intention of the act, of the proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Any questions or discussion, please, before I seek a mover? Any questions or discussion to Mr. Small? If not, I'll seek a mover for item 2.3 for the officer recommendation, please. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mead. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Foster. Councillor Mead, please.
Thanks, Mayor. Explained by Mr. Small why we have to do this, so I'm happy to move the motion and move on.
Thanks, Councillor Mead. Councillor Foster, a seconder.
Yes, procedural, I'm happy for it
Yes,
to
thank
put to
you.
the vote.
Any councillor wish to speak for the motion? Any councillor wish to speak against the motion? If not, I'll call on Councillor Mead as mover of the officer recommendation, please.
Nothing further to add.
Thanks. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour, for, or against, carried 7-0. Thank you. I'll move on to item number 2.4, committees of council, councillor memberships, 24. Again, Mr. Small, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, each year we appoint council representatives to committees and to delegates to some internal organisations. And this is the list of proposed appointees for the councillors to these other bodies in the 2024 year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Any questions or discussion before I seek a mover? Yes, Councillor Purcell.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. There's been a couple of changes here. Is it the policy to write to the committees and indicate the changes of councillor committee membership?
Through the council, through the chair, definitely council would need to communicate to the committee what the where the membership is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any councillor wish to speak against the motion, please? If not, I'll call on, I'll seek a mover of the motion, please. Those in, seek a mover of the motion, please. Councillor Purcell. A seconder, please. Councillor Mead, Councillor Purcell.
Procedural motion. These committees are important, and it's the councillors have shown their interest in these committees and volunteered to be a part of them. So certainly a pleasure to move this motion.
Thanks, Councillor Purcell. Councillor Mead, a seconder.
Thanks, Mayor. Agree with Councillor Purcell. It is one of the privileges of being a councillor is to being involved with some of these committees, because you do get to see firsthand what passion some of these community volunteers have for their facility, for their whatever it may be, their court or their theatre, their rec reserve, and to see what effort they put in. So it's great to be able to sit around the table with them to hear of ways they can further improve their offerings to the community.
Well, thanks, Councillor Mead. Any councillor wish to speak for or against the motion, please? If not, I'll call on Councillor Purcell.
No need, Mayor.
I'll put it to vote. Those in favour, for, against, carried 7-0. Thank you. Move on to item number 2.5, local government performance reporting framework comparison snapshot. Mr. Small again.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, each year the local government Victoria basically collects statistics from various councils in order to make comparative data available. And there's a Victorian government website called Know Your Council Comparison Dashboard. And we have extracted comparative data for some areas of the Moyne operations to compare with selected comparative councils who are also large regional councils. So we've assembled a report here which covers these identified areas of comparison with those four other councils.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Before I seek a mover and seconder, any questions or discussion? Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Small, if somebody wanted to find out more, is the Know Your Council dashboard open and available to the public?
Through the mayor, yes, it is available through that website.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, councillor Mead.
Thanks, Mayor. Mr. Small. So there's varying figures on here. Some compare Moyne favourably, some say we're average, some say we've got a bit of work to do. In the areas in particular, it says we've got a bit of work to do. Is there any plan to provide a report, for instance, on ways we can improve those areas?
Thank you. I'd like to see her to respond to this, please.
Yes.
Through you, Mayor. Councillor Mead, we're always looking to continuously improve. So we take these indicators on board as statewide averages, and where there's areas identified that we could improve upon, we will regularly bring that back into the council.
Thanks, Mr. Davis. Any further questions or discussion before I seek a move of the offer of recommendation? If not, I'll seek a mover and seconder of item 2.5, local government performance reporting. Councillor Foster. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Gleeson. Councillor Foster.
Thanks, Mayor. I think as councillor Mead has just mentioned, there is some good news in here and some not so great for us. It's probably a bit of a snapshot in time. It is good, for example, to have a look at the fact that one area that we're doing well in is libraries. The cost of our libraries is very low compared with other councils, but we have a much higher percentage of active borrowers. Also, I've noticed waste. We have a higher percentage of waste that's diverted away from landfill. So there are some things that we should celebrate and acknowledge, as well as the lots of great things. So I would love to see these reports come to us on a fairly regular basis so that we can get a sense of how we're faring in relation to other light councils.
Thanks, Councillor Foster. Councillor Gleeson to seconder.
Thank you. Concur, councillor Foster. But what it does show me is that we're doing pretty well. And when we compare to some neighbours and some other, councils across the other side of the state, particularly in the eastern areas, we're doing okay. And it also just a little thing there that stands out, cost of staff and availability of staff, where we can get them, where we can't get them. And for instance, under one of those is a food safety officer that we have to contract out because we can't fill that position. So it costs us a lot more money. So there's a few little, good bits there that we can glean, but overall, very, very happy with that.
Thanks, Councillor Gleeson. Any councillor wish to speak for or against the officer recommendation, please? If not, I'll call on Councillor Foster as mover of the officer recommendation,
Nothing
please.
further. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Foster. I'll put item number 2.5 to the vote. Those in favour, 4, against, carried 7-0. Thank you. Move on to item number 2.6, economic development strategy, the year 4 report. Call on the Director of Environment, Economy and Place, Ms. McNamara. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors. Councillors, this report presents the outcome of the Year 4 actions as identified within the Year 4 Action Plan, Council's economic development strategy. Essentially, around 70% of the actions have been completed, with another around 16% in progress. As we embark on the next iteration or refresh of the action plan going into Year 5, we'd like to acknowledge the work of the team and the Economic Development Advisory Committee as we recommend this report be endorsed.
Thanks, Ms. McNamara.
I also have our manager, Gabby Lee, here to answer questions as well. Thank you.
Mr. Lee. Right. Any questions or discussion before I seek a mover and seconder of the office? Yeah, Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe one for Mr. Lee. Could you give us just a couple of highlights of the results from Year 4, please?
Councillor Mead, through you, Matt. Thanks, Councillor Mead. I would say the highlights from the perspective of the economy and tourism theme include the worker attraction programs. This is something that Council initiated last year, utilising a council-owned asset at Southland Park Lodge to house seasonal workers, supporting hospitality businesses in Port Fairy particularly. That enabled some businesses to open or to extend their operating hours the previous year when they had to close quite frequently. So that was a great program. Our Back to Work program, where we're highlighting the benefits of returning to work to some retirees following the social benefits as well as any economic benefits from that, and that's been successful as well. Our Love Local program. So this program's targeted at trying to retain spend within the Moyne Shire and support the many great businesses within Moyne Shire rather than residents spending outside our shire. So things like our business awards and other initiatives to promote that local spend. And I'll round out by saying the support to events and tourism in the Shire Council of Mead. The council has financially funded 24 events across the Shire throughout last year and provided many, many hours of in-kind support as well. And events are a lifeblood of the local visitor spend and also for resident experiences as well. And we've seen in the newspaper recently some other shires are losing some events. So I think it's something that Moyne Shire can be quite proud of, that support to give events. In particular, I'd call out the Mortlake Gift, which is a new event to the Shire, successful first year. So we hope to be able to continue to support that. 2 events in Croydon, the Croydon Irish Festival and Picnic in a Paddock, quite good strong events as well. And in Port Fairy, the Moyne Festival and Fireworks that council has supported, and of course the Port Fairy Folk Festival Street Fair. And just for councillors' information, looking at our visitor economy, pre-COVID, our visitor spend in Moyne Shire was $52 million in 2019. Last year in 2022, it was 81 million. So that's an increase of $29 million in 3 years, so a 65% improvement. So that's something I think the Shire's events and hospitality and tourist businesses can be quite proud of.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Any further questions or discussion, please? Yeah, Councillor Lockett.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you. So regarding the worker attraction program, that's been phenomenally successful, as you said. How's that looking for this summer?
Thanks for the question, Councillor Lockett. Last year, our lodge wasn't completely booked out. It was about half full. This year, it's completely booked out. We actually have a waiting list. And we also have some subsidised caravan park sites. In total, I would estimate that we probably have over 30 workers that we're housing in that accommodation that would be available to local businesses otherwise. And the feedback we've had from some businesses saying they wouldn't be operating this year without that accommodation package.
Fantastic.
So very successful.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Gleeson.
Thank you. Just a comment. We spend a lot of time doing strategies and, you know, which you have to do. You have to do that. I'm sorry about that. You have to, not us. But when you measure them, when you've actually got results, this is fantastic. You know, that you can sit back and say from 3 years ago to now, the spend is up 30 million bucks. What you and your team are doing with the, you know, workout, like one business, I think, has employed 7 to open another part of their business. That's enormous. So the comment is congratulations, and you've got a strategy and you can measure it. So thanks for the feedback. Well done.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much for that acknowledgement, Councillor Gleeson. I'd just like to note that it's the work of the Economy and Tourism team and other departments across council as well that help deliver those results.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion before I seek a mover of the officer recommendation? Yeah, Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Lee, Year 5, you've listed a few items, areas of focus. Can you give us a bit of a flavour of what, you know, have things really changed a great deal since you first put together the strategy? Have we changed direction a lot, or will we be changing direction a lot?
Through you, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Foster. Yes, things have changed since the strategy was first formulated in 2018, but in the last year or two, we've prioritised actions which help attract workers or attract a workforce, help with accommodation, build tourism, or support existing businesses, or attract investment. So they're the 4 key pillars we'll be targeting our Year 5 actions at. We've got some of the Year 4 and 5 actions still in progress. There's 29% in progress. So they'll feed into the Year 5 action plan. That anything we do will be targeting those 4 key pillars.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Any further questions or discussion? If not, I'll seek a mover of and seconder of the officer. Councillor Mead. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Gleeson. Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Ms McNamara and Mr Lee for presenting the report. I think it's a great credit to the Economic Development Department for the amount that's been achieved over the 4 years. It started on a very small scale and has grown to have a huge impact throughout the Shire. And there's great examples of that directly with businesses being able to employ up to 7 persons for one business that probably wouldn't be there without that offer of accommodation and the connection and facilitation of that the team and the Economic Development Department provide, but also through this, the Business Facade Improvement Grant that is over $130,000 worth over the last 3 or 4 years that have gone into local businesses to improve the face of their business and improve the general streetscape. So a credit to you. I look forward to the Year 5 strategy report and also thank the EDAC committee for their continual input and feedback from a local business perspective, a community perspective, and thank them for continuing to donate their time.
Thank you, Mr Mead, Councillor Mead. Councillor Gleeson has seconded.
Just to reiterate, thank you for Councillor Mead's comments. I did not mean to leave anybody out. We've got a fantastic festivals and events support team who have been really out recently. So, and as you say, new events like the Mortlake gift and all that sort of stuff, so growth across the Shire. Can't do it without the support, so well done.
Thanks, Councillor Gleeson. Any councillor wish to speak for or against their officer? Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Mead mentioned EDAC, or the Economic Development Advisory Committee. I'd also like to acknowledge them. It's a committee I did sit on initially, and what I particularly enjoyed about them was that they challenged us to think more in a more entrepreneurial sense, and I think that we've been all the better for it. So just a shout out to them. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Foster. Any other councillor wish to speak for or against the officer recommendation? If not, I'll call on Councillor Mead as mover of the recommendation, please.
Thanks, Mayor. Very pleased to be able to support and recommend this to fellow councillors.
I'll put item number 2.6 to the vote. Those in favour 4, against, carried 7-0. Thank you. Right, move on to item number 2.7. Again, the Dundonnell Wind Farm Community Engagement Committee nomination. Call on Ms McNamara again.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, this report relates to the Dundonnell Wind Farm Community Engagement Committee, which is an advisory committee to council and has 6 community representative positions. There are 3 current vacancies. A nomination to join that committee has been received, and this report seeks council approval to appoint a new community representative as outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms McNamara. Is there any questions or discussion on this, please? If not, I'll seek a mover and seconder of the officer recommendation, please. Councillor Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. Could I move that council consider and approve the nomination of Ms Susan Kosh for the Dundonnell Wind Farm CEC Community Representative?
Thank you, Councillor Purcell. That has been, Councillor Purcell has nominated Ms Susan Kosh. Those would seconded, Councillor Mead. All those in favour 4, against. So the officer recommendation will include Ms Susan Kosh as the community representation. Seek a mover of that amended.
I've moved that.
I'll move it. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Purcell, seconder. Councillor Mead. Councillor Purcell.
Yeah, just very briefly, Mayor. It's great that the community are willing to put their hand up to be on these committees, and I congratulate Ms Kosh for doing that. The Dundonnell Wind Farm Committee has been up and running for quite a while, as the wind farm. And as I say, I thank her for her interest in being a member of this committee and wholeheartedly support her nomination.
Thank you, Councillor Purcell. Councillor Mead, a seconder.
Yeah, can't add any more.
Thank you. Any councillor wish to speak for or against this recommendation? If not, I'll call on councillor Purcell.
No need, Mayor.
I'll put item number 2.7 to the vote. Those in favour, for, against, carried. Thank you. I'll call on item number 2.8, operational and services agreement for the port for Port Fairy. Again, Ms McNamara.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this report proposes that Council endorse the Port of Port Fairy Operational Services Agreement for the management and administration of the port for a 5-year term, which brings it to end on the 30th of September 2028. We welcome any questions you might have, and our manager Darby Lee is here.
Right, thank you. Any questions or discussion, please? Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Mayor. Will our port users see any visible difference out of this agreement, this new agreement?
Through you, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Lee.
Thanks, Councillor. I believe so. This is rolling over from the previous 5-year agreement. The only difference, Councillor Mead, is that there had been 2 separate agreements, one for operational matters, one for project management. They've now been combined into one document for efficiency purposes by the Department of Transport and Planning.
Right, thank you. Any further questions or discussion, please? If not, I'll seek and move a seconder of item 2.8, operational services agreement for the Port of Port Fairy. We have a move by councillor Lockett. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Purcell. Councillor Lockett as mover, please.
Thank you, Mayor. A procedural matter, but an important one to consolidate and get all our ships in a row. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, councillor Lockett. Councillor Purcell.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. More than happy to second this, and it's a pleasure to sit on this committee. It's a very committee that really get involved. I think the attendance at the meetings are probably 100%. They're really a group who want to make the port, I was going to say better, but I don't know whether it can be much better, because it is actually really in a great condition, and that's a credit to the state government and also to council. A copy of this has been sent to each of the members of the committee, and they have either agreed with it or none of them have opposed it. So more than happy to second this. But while I do second it, I'd probably like to give a thank you to one of the members of those committees, Gary Stewart. Gary was on the inaugural committee, and I reckon his term, he must have been there now for approaching 30 years, which is probably a record for any of our volunteer committees, or certainly since the amalgamation of the councils. So I'd like to thank Gary for his service, and hopefully he continues to do it for a long time into the future.
Thanks, councillor Purcell. Any councillor who wishes to speak for or against the officer recommendation, please? If not, I'll call on councillor Lockett to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor. Agree with Councillor Purcell's comments. He's an absolute steward of the committee, and it's a privilege to sit on the committee also with Councillor Purcell. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Lockett. Number 2.8 to the vote. Those in favour, for, against, carried 7-0. We will now move on to item 2.11, please. Council Community Carbon Offset Program. Again, Ms McNamara.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this report recommends that Council award funds to the applicants as outlined in the recommendation to deliver the Council Community Carbon Offset Program. The program has been in operation since 2010, and it's aimed to encourage community groups to plant trees on public land as a non-verified offset to Council's light fleet vehicle emissions. We also have Michelle Granger here, our manager for the Energy and Environment team, who's here to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms Granger. Any questions or discussion on item 2.11, please? Yes, councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms McNamara, thank you for that introduction. I think you mentioned public land, and question for either you, Ms McNamara, or you, Ms Granger. Is it not also available for private land, and do they need to be farmers necessarily?
You may, generally it is farming properties that apply for the grants, but they don't have to be farms, but they need a substantial portion of land to do the planting. And in this case, we've had more applications from private landholders in this year's funding than what we've had previously.
Any further questions or discussion before I seek a mover? Yeah, councillor Gleeson.
Thanks. Just a point of clarification. So our small fleet, the number of trees that we plant would be make that carbon neutral, complete offset.
That's what we aim to do, is have it carbon neutral and allocate $30,000 this year. We're probably just short of that. We're about $24,000 allocated. So we hope to carry over the amount to next year's funding.
So further to that, then I'll just congratulate council, because I think it's a great thing, on top of the fact that we're the renewable capital of the world. And, it's just great that we do these extra things. So we're probably the most sustainable shire in the country. And this is just another good little thing that we do. So good on us.
Thanks, councillor Gleeson. Any further questions or discussion before? Yes, councillor Do.
Thank you, Mayor. To Ms Granger, we've been doing this a long time now. Have we ever done an assessment of the trees that are, say, 10 or 15 years old? Because the ones that are getting planted this year or next year, they're only 6-inch tubes, so their significance would be negligible.
Through you, Mayor, Councillor Dukas, we do auditing on the Crown land or the council land parcels. We don't do on private land. So we have some confidence that what's being planted on public land has been successful, and the applicants report back to us on that.
So what about the amount of carbon that's sequestered? Do we do that?
No, we don't do the amount of carbon. If we were going to enter into the carbon reporting, that would spend double the amount of money just on the reporting requirements. So we don't see we're going to get value for money. We'd rather invest in the trees than the reporting.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Or yes, councillor Lockett.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Ms Granger for her phenomenal contribution to our shire over the many, many years. We were discussing before, hopefully we've had the ability to download your vast amount of knowledge and keep that within Moyne. I'm sure you'll take it on to, bigger, better things. But I think, don't want to speak for all of us. I'm sure others might want to have a say as well. But the amazing amount of work you've done in that renewable energy space has definitely not gone unnoticed by anyone in this room and beyond. You do a power of work and greatly appreciated by us as councillors, but I imagine staff, vast amount of staff, but ratepayers, and you've, managed to navigate very tricky, ups and downs and ebbs and flows and difficult conversations. So it's really, really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Lockett. And I'd just like to endorse councillor Lockett's words. And you've always been a go-to person if we've had questions to ask Ms Granger, and just wishing you best of luck in your new position. And thanks for your services over the years to the Moyne Shire. It's been much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. If there's no further questions or discussion, I'll seek a move at Councillor Mead, seconded Councillor Foster. Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. After assuming this is approved today, that'll take it up to 76,000 trees planted over 14 years across the Shire, with a big boost in the last 3 years since the program funds were increased. And obviously, since also at that same time, it was also made available to private landholders, which has increased that planting as well. So that's a good opportunity for farmers and landholders to create shelter for their livestock, but also to help us with our small fleet offsets. So happy to move the motion. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, councillor Mead. Councillor Foster, a second.
Thank you, Mayor. I think there's a saying along the lines of it's a wise person who plants a tree knowing he or she will never sit under its shade. So while 76,000 trees sounds like a lot, we may never see the full impact and benefit of that. This is really a legacy that that I am certainly proud to be tiny part involved in. It's great to see spread across the Shire as well. The applications have come just from areas right across the Shire, which is terrific. I would love to see trees planted everywhere. So I encourage other groups and individuals to get involved and to make applications next time around.
Thanks, councillor Foster. Any councillor wish to speak for or against the motion, please? If not, I refer to councillor Mead as mover of the motion, offers the recommendation, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, happy to put this motion and I'll just quickly put it to by me. I know how to go, but thanks very much, Michelle, for your time at Moyne, and you've certainly had a role that has been created some community interest over the period, and I think you've managed that feedback very well in your time. Some of that, through great resilience. So good job.
Right, I'll put item number 2.11 to the vote. Those in favour, 4. Against, carried 7-0. Thank you. We will now move on to item number 3.1, Mayor and Councillor activities. Any discussion on that, please? No question.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, councillor Dukas.
You're meeting with Andrew Dyer.
Yes, thank you, councillor Dukas. We just had an informal meeting with Mr. Dyer in Melbourne, and we just generally discussed general issues relating to wind farm development and also transmission lines that are relevant both to Moyne Shire and the region.
Thank you.
Right, any further questions or discussion on item 3.1? Yes, councillor Foster.
Mayor, if I could just draw attention to the childcare roundtable discussion, if I may, just to mention that we had the second of these discussions with a group of families. The roundtable initiated through the parents who are frustrated at not being able to access childcare. And this is a problem Moyne Shire faces along with every other shire, I think, or every other provider across Australia. It's very difficult to get the child carers themselves. But what I'd just like to say thank you to those parents who participated so far, because they have had a role in improving some of the ways that we communicate and some of the processes around childcare. So I just want to thank them for their ideas and their creativity and their patience and their resilience. It's a huge problem, and it's not just about mums wanting to put their children in care while they have coffee. This is women and men who can't re-engage with their careers. So it's a really big problem. And I very much hope that we can be a loud voice of advocacy to government for this one. So thank you.
Thank you, councillor Foster. Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to make a comment with regard to the community projects presentation night we had at the Koroit Bowls Club, and thank those community groups that made the effort to put forward a presentation to come and show us councillors and show the need for that, whatever that might be within their community. It was, they didn't have a lot of time to put that together, but they did, and yeah, we appreciate that, and it's great to interact with our community firsthand like that, and it's also good for them to see what the other areas need and what might be required to get their projects up. So thanks for those groups to come and present.
Thanks, councillor Mead. Any further discussion on item 3.1? If not, we'll move on to item 3.2, councillor notice of motion. There was none scheduled, so we'll move on now to 3.3, general matters. Any councillor wish to raise? Councillor Gleeson.
If I may, and councillor Lockett might like to add to it. Had the privilege of attending the grade 6 graduation at St Patrick's Primary School in Port Fairy on Thursday night. I know you were at the Consolidated School. What a fantastic night. But not just to those two schools, and you may wish to add, but to all the schools across the Shire. You know, what a fantastic job they do. To all the staff, above and beyond, I reckon. You know, like we live in the best part of the world, there's no doubt about that. But when you're part of those nights, you sit back and you go, you know, wow, how important are these staff on these kids' lives? And so I just want to congratulate all the schools across the Shire, and what a fantastic night it was where I was, but what a great job they all do. So Merry Christmas and have a great break, staff.
Thanks, councillor Gleeson, and I'm sure we'll all endorse your comments. Any further general? Yeah, councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thanks, councillor Gleeson. I the privilege of attending, and it was a bit of a shock. My niece Charlotte Bishop won the Moyne Shire Award that I handed out, and as you said, the staff do a phenomenal job at all the schools across the Shire, and it's an absolute privilege to attend. It was a real honour. So yeah, thanks for doing the little swapsies to go to that one. It was a real huge privilege and really special for our family too, to present. Yeah, my sister presented the Michael Lockett Award, so that was wonderful to attend for that reason as well. Got a couple of little Christmas shout outs here too. Koroyd are having their first ever big New Year's Eve party, so that's awesome, and Moyne got on board to support that. Obviously in Port Fairy there's the Moyne Festival, which is always a roaring success. And there's various things on at the surf club and football club. They have the fun run, things like that over summer. I want to pay a special shout out to the Noodledorf. I don't know if everyone's seen that on Christmas Day, they're doing a bit of a free coffee and food thing in the morning. And it's just like, what a wonderful thing for a business to do. Just, you know, anyone that's a regular punter or not, or, you know, a bit lonely on Christmas Day or whatever, pop in and have a free coffee. That's just such a wonderful thing for a business to give back to the community. So lots of Christmas spirit in the air. Everyone have a good, safe and happy Christmas.
Thank you, councillor Lockett. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm wondering if our CEO might have a response for us in relation to the solar panels I asked about earlier in relation to the kindergartens. I think you thought you might have been able to get an answer to us.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, thanks, councillor Foster, for the question. The new systems that have been installed at the kinder are expected to reduce the energy bills by 85%.
Wow.
And also with regards to, you know, reducing the greenhouse gas emissions that occur in that regard. So a fairly positive return on that investment is expected.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any further, councillor Mead?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just building on the back of councillor Foster's earlier comments with regard to childcare, I just wanted to show appreciation for the families that came along to the Garvock round table on childcare that we had last week, and that manager of childcare came along, and Director Farrell as well, to hear from about 10 families, about 22 kids or something run around there, and we certainly understood that there is a great need for it in the eastern part of our shire as well, childcare. So we appreciated their feedback, and I know the team are working hard to try and get that position filled.
Thanks, councillor Mead. Any further general matters, please? Yeah, councillor Dukas.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to give Parks a bit of a payout for their gross incompetence in relation to Children's Cove toilets. Part of the Bay of Islands Coastal Park. From what the information I've received, apparently they were closed in April 23, but I don't think they've been working well before that. The reason given is to protect the visitor amenity and environment impacts. So people camping there without toilet facilities. Sure, I'll just let your imagination run wild. Your visual impact would be one, and visitor amenity would be exciting. I think sidestepping would be great. However, I don't think that they're trying very hard. They've told us that the bore pump is at its end of life. Well, it's probably not going. How hard is it to replace a bore pump? They say that the pipeworks, cisterns and bowls all need refurbishment because of calcification, etc. But they would still work. If they put a pump in, there'd still be something there. And what have they done? They've queued the works in context of the current tourism infrastructure priorities. So just let your imagination run wild. These parks, they're skiting about. Apparently nothing goes past the 5 Apostles anymore. We have thousands of people a day going to Childers Cove, and the visual impact is of concern. So they let people do what they do, where they do, especially the overnight campers. And where's that leave the local farming community? People knocking on the door desperate to use their toilet. So if that's the state government and its tourism arm and Parks Victoria and Score Capper, I think it is, whether they go that far or not. Either way, it's just not good enough. And I think Parks ought to lift its game. Because at the end of the day, people are calling this more than just a disgrace. But I won't use the words they do because we're in this.
Thank you, councillor Dukas.
So, and now while I'm on the soapbox, I'm going to get stuck into things. The boat bay down at near Peterborough, where people launch their boats. In the Standard, there was an article about marine rescue. There's no boat between Apollo Bay and Warrnambool. Well, we have an ability to launch a boat at Peterborough, and we have the ability to launch one at Boat Bay. Boat Bay needs some, I suppose, remedial work. We've had a great working relationship with Boating Victoria. They've done a fantastic job down at Boggy Creek. They've done good work at the port. Great organisation. Maybe we need to talk to our CEO to see if we can get some action out of Boating Victoria, because it's just not good enough that there is no boat. To tow a boat from Warrnambool to the nearest launching place, which going by the Standard is Apollo Bay, when if there was a little bit of work done at Boat Bay, we could launch there, or at Peterborough. Peterborough is not as good. Boats in the past, locals have launched their boat at Boat Bay, gone out and rescued other boats. I'm not saying that they've saved lives, but they've rescued boats that have either ran out of fuel or something's happened and they need help. So I think the opportunity is there for the community and the Moyne Shire to talk to these people and provide some sort of facility or better facilities without a lot of money need to be spent to provide a place a lot closer than having to tow something to not from Apollo Bay or from Warrnambool to Port Campbell.
Thanks a lot, councillor Dukas. Yeah, councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Apologies, I have already had a little bit of a say in general matters. I've just got 2 more quick ones I wanted to plug. And I know councillor Dukas is a big fan of this one. He'll be in attendance on the 20th and 21st of January, the Alford Vintage Rally. He's a cracker. If you've never been, check it out. It's amazing. And also the Croy Truck Show on the 27th of January. Thank you. Also, the 6th of January in Port Fairy will be a ceremony as well.
Thank you, councillor Lockett. Plenty of activity in the great Shire of Moyne. Any further general?
Can I ask, the Australia Day celebrations for the Moyne Shire are being held in which town?
Mr. Davis?
Through you, Mayor, Port Fairy.
Port Fairy. So all those listening, Port Fairy for Australia Day.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussions on general matters, please? Well, thank you, councillors. Right, we'll move on to item number 4, the CEO meeting schedule. Any questions for Mr. Davis on meetings or functions? Oh, councillor Mead.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Just a question with regard to specifically in relation to Moyne Shire, how did your meeting go with the planning minister, or the reception of the planning minister?
Through you, Mayor, thank you for the question, councillor Mead. Well, there were actually two meetings in that day. One was the reception that night, which was a broader one. The earlier one in the afternoon was a meeting roundtable with rural councils with regards initially to their first steps consultation for Plan Victoria, which is an update of Plan Melbourne, but statewide. Had the opportunity then to speak separately and directly to the minister in a one-on-one chat, where we had a good conversation about rural isn't regional, and when they're considering these plans, they need to think about how rural and remote shires exist in the broader scheme of things. Also invited her down with regards to having a look at the breadth and scale of the wind farms that we have in our shire, and of course some of the pros and cons of those facilities that affect our communities, and frustrations with planning delays, particularly with regards to C69, which we're still waiting for, which is still, as they say, on her desk. So they were some of the key dot points. In a broader sense, the government is clearly signalling that they want to use all existing zones and infrastructure first before they contemplate new zones in terms of growth. So that's encouraging infill or encouraging growth in and around existing town centres. And that housing targets will be contemplated or will be introduced across the course of the year for each of the metropolitan councils. The details with regards to rural and regionals isn't as clear at this stage, but I anticipate that it'll also involve that. Consultation will roll out in the first half of next year on the broader Plan Victoria.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Right, any more questions or discussions on the CEO activity and meeting schedule?
I know, Mayor, just to call out one other one, at the privilege, you had the privilege of opening on last Friday evening the Good Shed in Port Fairy for its first event. It's been opened per se, but the Twilight Market hosted a pop-up market in there, and we've had overwhelming positive comments and feedback with regards to that, and that commences a longer term consultation period for future discussions around the use of that facility.
Thank you. Right, yes, councillor Dukas.
Thank you. CEO activity report, the Taste Trail. Has the maps been produced yet at the information centre?
Through you, Mayor, yes, they have.
Got a copyright from councillor Lucas.
They floated in about 3 weeks ago.
I'm going to float over and get one.
They are available, and they're also on our website. I know you like using the website, but
That's not the same. It's go and visit the information centre. They do.
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, yes, councillor Mead.
Yeah, just a question. Don't have a question. I've just got a comment. I'm going to try and frame into a question. Or Ms. McNamara possibly. Just what do you put down to the improved results on the percentages of decision in statutory timeframe last over 80%, which is a big improvement on the previous 8? What's been the cause of that bulk of improvement?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for the question, councillor Mead. I think a heightened focus on our processes and improvement in that regard has resulted in that good result. We continue to focus on all areas of improvement as we are made aware of those parts of the job that are often highlighted to us. We're listening, we're trying, and it's probably a really good team result. They've really anchored in together to produce as much as possible for our community.
Thanks, Ms. McNamara. Any further questions or discussion on the CEO's? Councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Mayor. The offshore whale to it, wave. Yeah, the whales are still there. The wave to energy off the coast near the Abalone farm. that now is, I don't know, cancelled, defunct, whatever, I don't know what they called it. My understanding is they're not going to remove any of the infrastructure that's out there. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor, that is correct, Councillor Dukas. It's been sitting in abeyance for some time, as I understand it, but the operation alone to remove that is considered actually too risky. So it's been left in situ.
Is that, well, I suppose it's the council decision. Is that acceptable though? I mean, no one else could do that. So why are they allowed to do it? Just leave it sitting there.
Through you, Mayor, I'll take that on notice.
Please.
We can follow that back up with the decision makers. The waters are state government or federal government. They are not ours.
Yeah.
But we can still raise our concerns with the leaving of the facility.
Don't do as I do, do as I say. Good old state and fed state.
Thanks, Mr. Davis.
Just to follow up for that, then, you know, in light of all the development that goes on within the Moyne Shire, you know, that's been you know, what happens at the end of life? Who's responsible? And, you know, we're assured that the developer's responsible, and yet in this case, no one's responsible.
Obviously.
Right, thank you, councillors. Anything else, Mr. Davis?
And Mayor, just to finish with, yourself and I and several staff did attend the Tourism Awards, where the Visitor Information Centre received a bronze award in the state for its tourism, retail and services. So congratulations to the team there, and also congratulations to the Folk Festival that received a silver for festival and events across the state. So really, in a room filled with a lot of people, really good profile for Moyne and its activities, and particularly its offer as a tourism destination. Congratulations to all involved.
Yes. The Folk Festival should get a platinum. They've been going that long. Yeah, I mean, they should get something special. They've been, what, over 40 years?
46.
46.
Yeah.
Yeah, try and beat that. Anybody?
Thanks, councillor Dukas. Anything further on the CEO's activities report? If not, thank you. I seek a mover now, a call for a motion to suspend standing orders, consider the confidential agenda items, please. Do I seek a mover? Councillor Purcell, councillor Foster. Thank you.